You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take the day off and go painting. But before I do, I'm going to give you a little feedback on your paintings or the paintings of other people that have been submitted. Let's look at the paintings we're going to give feedback about. There's some really good paintings that have come in today, and we're going to just take a look at them and see if we can find things that will improve them. And maybe we can do it, maybe we can't. They're all lovely in their own way. And so we're going to see what we can do with these. Today is Feedback Friday. And today we're also going to talk about composition and called the balanced scale. So when you watch this, I want you to start seeing the problems with your own paintings by looking at other people's paintings. Ask yourself this: what do I see that needs to change? What do I like about the composition? What do I like about the values? What do I like about the angles? What do I like about the edges? You know, ask yourself lots of questions, because a critical part of learning is getting feedback, right? We can't see our own mistakes. We're too close to, right? So we want to get a little bit of feedback so we can understand what's happening here. And for me, I like to be able to see a critique of other people's paintings, because I learn from those. Because when my own paintings are being critiqued, I'm like, I don't want to hear it. Okay, get that? All right, so you want to sing along? I don't want. Okay, go into the comments, by the way. Tell us where you're watching from today. We love to see where you're coming in from. I'm not going to be able to get into the comments and see because I'm critiquing, but get in there. And when you see something in a painting, first off, we want to be nice, but when you see something, say, here's what I see, and then we'll see if we're in sync on that. I'm not always right, and there isn't necessarily a right or wrong. You put 5 artists in a room and have 5 artists critique them, they're all going to say something different. Okay, so this is just my opinion. And remember, we're going to make sure that we're kind. So let's get this show officially started.
It's Art School Live with Eric Rose. Now, here's your host, Eric Rose.
Welcome to Art School Live. We're here every weekday at 12 noon. Today happens to be Feedback Friday. We're here every weekday, and that's noon Eastern time, with free art lessons, art marketing guidance, and feedback on Fridays. As publisher of art magazines and newsletters, I'm often a competition judge, an artist coach. I've got a couple of decades of painting. I might be able to see some things in your paintings that I can improve, or maybe not. All right, sometimes you guys just nail it so great that I can't possibly make them better. We may have one of those today. I'm just saying. Okay, so at least I'll give you a different perspective. So the rules, there are no rules. Well, there is one rule. You know what my rule is? No drama. No drama. That's what I do at my retreats. It's what I do at my plein air convention. It's like, I don't want any drama, folks. But no drama in this particular case means be kind, be nice. If you destroy somebody, if you go in there and you just show them how strong and wonderful you are, and that you just tear them apart, your words will destroy. We've got to make sure that everybody's encouraged. I had an instructor, two different instructors told me that I should give up painting. That it devastated me. I gave up for a long time, but because I had this urge, I kept coming back. And finally, I found somebody who could teach me. You do not have to have natural talent to learn to paint. I had convinced myself that's what it took, and it's not true. You do not need it. It's a process you can learn, and anybody can learn it. And you can do well. You can get to a point where you're feeling good about your paintings. That's the goal. So let's keep this fun. Let's keep it positive. There's nothing personal here. And so make sure that you submit your paintings. You can do it by sending them to me, Eric. It's streamlinepublishing.com/feedback. And of course, if you want, after you made the changes, if you don't hate me, you can send them to me by email, and we'll pull up the before and after and see what we've got. Okay, let's get right to it. I'm going to get my handy dandy little tablet. Let's pull up what we're going to do first. And this is really lovely. This is from Ann in Missouri. And we always start out by looking at the black and white first. And so let's do that. Black and white helps us see what we call values. All right. Values are darks and lights. So let's just say, where's the darkest value in this painting? Well, I'm going to say probably here, maybe here. Where's the lightest value in this painting? Probably here or here. So that's a range of darks to lights, right? And so those are called values. And what we're going to do is look at the values of this painting. We're also going to look at the composition. So what I like to do, we're going to start out by looking at composition. I like to go dead center down the middle, and I like to ask myself, has the artist put something dead center? Because that's, it's not against the law, but it sometimes feels a little awkward. Sometimes it works really well. So, but the temptation, because we are all in kindergarten learning how to draw, and everybody puts things dead center. And so what's happening here is we have kind of this going into the dead center. And so it's very close to dead center, I would say. And we don't have we don't have the horizon line here, but we do have a lot kind of going into the center here. Now that's a little bit off, and so that's good. We also like to do, I like to look at what I call the equal thirds. This is a composition trick that I learned from 𝗙𝗹𝗻𝗰𝗙, and he takes things and puts them into an equal third grid. So this is a third, this is a third, and so on. And that way, where you find the intersecting lines is where it's usually often more interesting for a focal point. So it could be here, here, or it could be one big focal point. And so you want to look, is there any focal point? Well, you got kind of a focal point going on here in this space here. Got nothing going on here, that's good. Nothing really going on here, and that's good. So I'd say this compositionally is pretty strong. I might increase this in one particular way or another and try to figure out how to maybe bring the sky a little lower, or maybe crop it differently, or maybe bring some things up a little bit, a little bit more foreground or something like that. Let's look at the color. We got to talk about values first. On values, what happens is if you don't have your values in orderly fashion, what happens is that your eye, looking at the black and white, can't tell the distance, right? So if you look at this tree right here, this group of trees right here, and you look at the group of trees behind them, there's very little difference between that dark and that light. I mean, if you squint down, they blend together. So it would be stronger if we could make this around it stand out a little bit more as being a little bit lighter. And of course, in the color version, we might make it a little bit bluer, because things get bluer in distance. So if this were stronger, let me just give you show that real quickly. If this were stronger here, this tree, do you see how it separates? And you can see that the background now separates. Now, the problem is that if we used a pure black here like I did, and then we used a pure black up here, this isn't going to feel distant from this. And so what we've got to do is find out what's that happy medium. So what I would probably do, you want to usually put your darkest dark where your focal point's going to be. And so I would probably pump up, whatever part of this I want to be my focal point. I'd pump up my darks on this tree here, and maybe my darks in this shadow here, maybe some of this in the front. And then when I go back to the back, I might make this tree, it's dark, but it's not as dark. You see that? So this is darker than this, and that really makes everything recede. And I hope that's clear to you. And that's, let's look at the color version and see what we can learn here. This is really lovely. Anna from Missouri, you did a really nice job on it. There's a couple of things I really love about this painting. First off, you've got really wonderful brush work, okay? It's got really nice feel to it. You've laid your brush strokes down and you've kind of left them alone, and they're really nice and juicy. I really like that. And I think you've done a pretty good job on focal pointing here, because there's a lot of light back here, but there's a lot of light on this tree. So this light in the background is drawing the eye, and we want the eye to go to your focal point. So we got to figure out how to do that. And so what I would probably do is, first off, let's take that light and let's get some of that light on this tree and really enhance the light on this tree. All right, and maybe this one too. And you want variety in there, right? So you want to have your greens just a little bit different, and you know, maybe you can even pump it up and get a little bit of edge light on here. And then you want to really take these darks and get, you know, some really good darks in here on this tree. So right there, you can see that that's making a difference. And these trees here, right here, really we want them to recede. And the way I would make them recede is I put them behind this rock so that this rock is kind of standing out. So see how right now, just by doing that, putting the trunk further back, it makes them recede. And if you wanted to, you could make it recede a little bit more by taking, you know, some color, put that back there a little bit more. But these would be lighter. They would be a little bit less yellow. So maybe a little yellow blue. Maybe we blew this back just a little bit. Now, if you take all these greens in the background, and let's see if we can find, I like to do purples. Let's see if we can find an appropriate purple. That's the bell of death. That means I'm talking too much. So look here, when I take these trees and I put them in purple in the distance, see how that makes that read like distance? Now you can still throw some, watch what happens when we put it around these. See, it helps separate them. The values are a little bit off. So I would probably lighten this up a little bit more here to make sure this separates. And then what you can do is you can lay some greens over this, and that will help. And so, you know, just lay, whoops, that's not green. Lay some of these greens over this to make it feel like it's going in the distance. And then you've got this bright color here. I would mute that back just a little bit more so that what we're doing is we're bringing attention to the light in the front. And I would probably get a good dark here in the front, in this foreground, not put everything in light, and look for things that are drawing the eye away. Now this rock is a little bit too pure white for my taste. I think I would probably, you've got good values on it. I just look for a way to get a little bit of color in there, a little rocky color in there. And you want to make sure that rocks have a lot of strong darks in them. And you can do that with some kind of gray blues, get some of these strong darks in here to define these rocks, and that will help a lot. I would probably mute back this stuff in here because you want to draw the eye kind of this area. I would mute this back. Although it's leading the eye in, I would make it a little bit darker. Anyway, I think that's a really good job on that. And let's go to the next one. All right, here we have another one. This is Jessica and Virginia. Jessica, you've done a really nice job on this. I like it. I like the brushwork. Let's look at the black and white. Now, the black and white, you want to say, does this read well in black and white? Because sometimes you look at a black and white and you can't tell what it is, and it requires color to inform you. And so I love the brush energy on this. This painting's got lots of energy. It's got a lot of that impressionistic feel, and I like that. It's not, you know, carefully rendered, and it's really got a lot of energy. Now, what I'm going to do first is let's talk about values. So the values in this painting, I think, are a little bit off, Jessica, because where's your darkest dark? The darkest dark is here, and here and here, but this is pretty close. But these darks back here are awfully dark for that distance, I think, and maybe these darks here. So if we were to lighten those up just a little bit back there, see if we can figure out something that would work. This is a little bit brown. Let's try this. Maybe lighten these up just a little bit more, and that will help it read distant, right? See how that helps it read distant? And those could be even a little bit lighter because they're even further back. We could probably go in there and make them a little bit lighter. And you could have a sense of color on them. See, just doing that alone makes a difference. And then you've got your good strong darks in front, and then you want to kind of reduce them back. compositionally, let's look at this painting and see what we've got here. Let me get rid of my marks. Now, all right, let's go dead center. She's winning that battle, no problems here. Let's look at the equal thirds grid. She's done a really good job. She's got this horizon line higher, and that's really nice. And this mountain peak kind of comes into this area here. Nothing going on here. Nothing really going on here. So this becomes, to me, becomes the focal point of the painting. And I think, you know, she's nailed it. Jessica, good job on that. Let's go to the color version of this. All right. So again, I like the brushwork. I like the juiciness. Be very careful, Jessica, about pure whites, right? Look, we've got pure whites going on in a couple of places, and we got a lot of pure whites. And so these are not, that's not quite pure, but it's very close. Pure whites really draw the eye. And what you want to do is get to the point where you're really good at values. And you ask yourself, does this really need to be white? So you could make, for instance, you can do a lot with whites where, let me get rid of these marks here. You can put some blues and some blue grays in your water. And what you don't want to do is make everything white, because everything that's white draws the eye and also cools down the painting. And so what you want to do is ask yourself, is there a way I can do it without white? White should be the last thing you use. You know, even up here in the clouds, you know, this will read like a cloud in this bluey gray color. And you can, again, you should do variations of bluish gray colors, or variations of things that will make things read a little better. So if you get rid of these whites, now I've gotten rid of them. Now what's happening is my eye is being drawn over here into this, right? And it's being drawn here, and there's a lot happening here, and there's a lot of whites in here. So they're not necessarily whites, but they're high value. So let's look at what could we do. Do these really contribute to this painting? No. And they're leading the eye out. So what I'm doing is, even though that may be what you saw, you know, you might put some little touches of it in here, but you don't want to have too many things drawing the eye where you don't want it. All of this stuff up in front in this sand is, you know, we probably should mute this back a little bit and look for ways that we're not drawing the eye quite so much, because anything bright is going to draw the eye. I would probably even consider putting a shadow up in here somewhere on this sand. Maybe, you know, there's a tree or something coming in here, and so we've got a little bit of a shadow, so that I'm kind of keeping the eye focused on where I want to take it. And even this area down here is drawing the eye a lot. So where do you want to draw the eye? Well, you're either going to draw the eye here to the water, or you're going to draw the eye to the focal point back here. And one or the other is going to be your focal point. I'm not sure which. So if you wanted this to be your focal point, then you can take your white, but you want it to be kind of a yellow white, because it's catching light. It's a strong light. And let's say you want it to be here, you know, then you look for your way to throw a little bit of light here. But if you do it everywhere, it's not going to look as good. So look for a way that you can kind of throw your light into a couple of spots that really draw the eye. Now, if you wanted to mute this back, like I've done here, and maybe you mute this white spot back here. Let's see if we can get that. Mute this back here a little bit, get a little bit of muting into this. Then what you can do, if you wanted your mountain in the background to be your focal point, then what you could do is, you know, really throw some light and some color on that. That's probably a little bit extreme, but, you know, something in here, and draw some attention there. So I'm out of time again, and then you can throw some light on these rocks and, you know, really make that your focal point. So there's a lot of choices here. You just have to kind of decide which choices. Make sure that you're looking for contrast. See these rocks, they're kind of gray. What if if you put more light in here like that, doesn't take much, but it reads more like rocks. Okay. And also, you can put a little bit of light on the edge of your trees here to give them a little bit of form. Anyway, that's really beautiful, high energy. Okay, what's next? This looks like Downton Abbey. I don't know that it is, but it makes me want to be there, makes me want to paint there. This is from UK. This is Paul Ward. Congratulations, Paul. This is a lovely painting. Really good job. What a difficult subject, I think. Buildings like that are hard to pull off, and you've done a nice job on that, making it feel like you're not trying to put all of your attention into it. So the question I have is, where's our focal point? What do we want to draw attention to? Let's start out by going through our focal point questionnaire here. Okay, dead center, nothing dead center. We're good there. Let's go through our equal thirds, roughly equal thirds, and we've got the building here in this focal point area. So that's pretty good. Now, there's a couple of things I've noticed. First off, in the black and white version, the values are pretty compressed, and I like compressed values, but there's a couple of things I would probably do. I think we need a strong dark somewhere, and that strong dark either needs to be right around your focal point. It doesn't have to be as dark because that's distant, but you might want to just look for a way to strengthen the dark on this side of the building, and that's going to probably in the color version be a little cooler because it's in shade. But if you get some strength in your darks right around here, maybe that's in the windows or something, that's going to help. And maybe even though there's light here, you can get a couple of darks in here to kind of emphasize what's happening here, and that alone will help this painting. Now, the other thing that's happening here is we've got gumdrops, right? Remember gumdrops when we were kids? And so what's happening here, we got a gumdrop here, got a gumdrop here, got a gumdrop here, and then, we've got a gumdrop over here. So what's happening, these are awfully close to equal space. They're a little bit off, but even though that's probably what you see, what would probably be stronger is to do a gumdrop here and another gumdrop here, and then have a gumdrop over here, maybe have a couple of them here, 3 of them here. I like to do 3s, 2s, and 1s, but I don't ever want to have things lined up, where they're equally spaced. The other thing you want to do is want to make sure that the gumdrops, first off, I don't know if they look like gumdrops, they probably did, but you want to make sure that, they're not all the same height, and these are kind of the same height. And so this one's the same height as this one's higher. So if this one's closer, make this one higher, and maybe make it a little far forward so it feels like it's a little closer to you. And then, just vary things a little bit so that they're not all the same. This big tree back here is kind of getting in the way of this gumdrop. So you might want to look for a way to put that in a little bit different place. You're allowed to move things on your reference photo or when you're painting in plein air. The other thing I noticed, by the way, the clouds are beautiful. Nice job on that. What's happening to me here is the clouds are taking me away. Or you could say they might be taking you here, but it feels like they're taking me away. So you might want to just ask yourself, maybe I should just not have them take me off the edge of the painting. That would be good. And then look for things that are drawing the eye out. Maybe this light up here, maybe this light up here. Look for things like that. The other thing you could do is if you reverse that cloud, I'm not going to do it right now because I don't have the ability, but let me just do this. Let's say if we made this cloud here and then here and then here and then here like this. Now what's happening is you've created an arrow and you're pointing people into the composition. So if you reversed that, let's just go ahead and take a little time and do that real quickly. All right. So just imagine that now your clouds are like this. Now it's really working the composition. That's really going to help you a lot. So I think that's pretty cool. Let's look at the color version of this, see what we can learn from it. Okay, so I think all the things that I said are pretty good. I would say that when you've got a big sky like this, one of the things you want to keep in mind is that there's going to be a warm side and there's going to be a cool side. And typically what's going to happen is the corners are going to get darker as you get further away, because really the sky is a globe overhead, right? So what we want to do is look for a way, can we make this read like it's a little warmer on one side? And the way to do that is to pick a little warmer color. Sometimes it might be a cerulean blue or something, but I'm just going to throw this in. It's a little light. Let's make it a little darker. So this is an extreme example. This isn't exactly right, but the idea is that part of this is going to be warmer, a little bit darker, and then part of this is going to be a little bit bluer. We're going to start getting bluer. And then what will happen is, this is a little bit strong, but I want to make the point, is that it will read like the light is over there. Now, the other thing is things tend to get a little bit hazy. Oftentimes there's a little touch of like alizarin down here at the haze, down like here, and that will just separate it. That's probably a little bit strong too. But the idea is just a little bit of haze down here, and then you can make things stronger as it goes up. So what you're doing is you're fooling the eye this direction, and this direction. All right. Now, the other thing I would say is this white statue here is drawing a lot of attention. And what I would probably do is move that statue over here like this, because it's going to be, we're going to get rid of it over here. Now it's going to be right around your focal point, and that'll work better. And then the only other thing I want to say, this light here, I would mute this back here so it's not everywhere. So you want to have the light brighter around the building or around your focal point. And so I brighten up your light right in here, and not too much, not too much everywhere else. And then I would see if you can strengthen the light on your building, because it just needs to be a little bit warmer and a little bit brighter, and that will help it read like it's in light. Now, this is an extreme example again, but you can kind of noodle that and see if you can figure something out that really makes this feel like light, and that will really make this thing pop. Okay, what do we have next? We have a scene of the, what would you call this? The dunes, a scene of the dunes. All right. This is from Ted Smith in North Carolina. All right, Ted, good job. Thank you. There are a couple of things I noticed on this right away. First off, we have a great video. I don't have a video image of it, but we have a video at painttube.tv by Mark Shasha, and he has a video teaching this exact subject. And one of the things that he does is he's got very soft edges kind of everywhere, because sand is really soft. This feels, in the black and white version, it feels like it could be softened up a little bit. Now, again, what's happening here is you have perspective, and the perspective is that this is further away than this, and as a result, you would want to have this dark in here darker than this dark in here. And what's happening is your darkest dark is right in here. Now, again, if that's your focal point, you want to put some of your dark in there, but you want to get some of that in here. Dunes have lots of shadows in them, so you might want to put a little shadow in. But it feels to me, I think the thing that's bugging me the most, Mr. Smith, is that the canvas, the weave of the canvas, feels to me like it's fighting you. And it looks to me like it's a cotton canvas that's very barely primed, and it feels to me like it's sucking in the paint. And I think that just, canvases make a big difference. We buy these 5 for $1 canvases at Michael's, and if you're going to use those, then at least re-gesso them so you get a stronger surface on it. Okay. I think that compositionally, this is a tough one to figure out because of the subject matter. There's nothing happening in the dead center, but we've also got, we got a little piece of grass here, and then this is kind of the main focal point, I would say. So keep that in mind. I would just say that things need to be softened up a little bit. Let's look at the color version of this. All right, so you've got a strong color back here, and I can't tell what it is. I don't know if it's sky, if it's sunset, if it's other sand. Got a little of that color in here. I think that things feel a little bit white-ish to me, and they don't feel sand colored to me. And of course, it may be the color of the sand where you are, but I would look for a way to get a little bit more sense of sand color in here. I'm not sure I have the right sand color. And you've done a good job by getting blues in your shadows, and the 𝗪𝗁𝗁 video talks a lot about that. But keep things pretty smooth when you're talking about sand environment. And then, the question is, where do you want the eye to go? You've done a nice job leading the eye up here, but that would assume you want them here. If you want them here, then you need to figure out how to lead the eye into here. And I would look for a way to pump up the focal point here. I don't have a reference on this, but what I would probably do is take this whitish color here that we're getting in the trail and maybe lead the eye over here a little bit. Maybe that needs to be a little bit lighter. I'm not getting it quite right, but the idea is lead the eye in here and then look for a way to get some, I assume these things have some color on them. Maybe get some real strong light on these reeds in here, so that you're really drawing a lot of attention to this one part of it. The rest of it doesn't have to have you drawing attention, because you want to have some place where your focal point is. I would mute this yellow back, either put the ocean back there, and if you wanted the ocean, you'd probably do something like this so that it read like that's the ocean. And that just adding something like that to it would help it. And I think that there's a lot of competing blues in here. You got a blues in here and blues in here, and you want to make sure that the blues are a lot different. You don't want the sky blue to feel the same as the gray blues that are in you're in here. So I would probably gray these down a little bit. I think just getting some more sand color in here will make a big difference. And we'll just, try to figure out how to lead the eye in here a little bit more. And then just really go in here and soften things up. I can't do much of it here, but I would soften up your edges. The edges are hard everywhere. And if they're hard everywhere, your eye doesn't know where to look. So keep your edges hard where you want the eye to look, soften things up everywhere else, and that will make a big difference. I think you just get some good greens in here right around where this grass is. It feels like you're using black. Black is a color I use to mute things back, but I don't use black otherwise because it kind of dominates the scene. It's hard to overcome black. So you might want to you can mix blacks or darks with like a transparent red oxide and a viridian green and an alizarin crimson or something like that. But just get a little bit of sense of color in here. I think that will help you. Okay, what do we have next? We have a pastel. I should just mention before we start this, I just want to mention that we have Pastel Live coming up, and it's coming up very soon, like in a couple of weeks. And we have some of the world's leading pastel artists on there, and they're going to be able to teach you much better than I possibly ever could. Some of the greatest pastel artists alive, and teaching a lot of different techniques, a lot of different subjects. And this is really a must do if you're at all interested in pastel. And I am interested in pastel. I love it. And I love to know all the mediums, because when it informs me in other mediums, it makes my paintings better everywhere. And I'm less bored. These are some superstars. You do not want to miss this. If you can't make the dates, then at least get the replays. All right. That's pastellive.com. Okay. So let's see. The next painting is what's the next painting? Okay. Oh yeah, it's the pastel painting. Okay, so this is a lovely pastel painting. It's got a really good feel to it. And I will tell you, the very first thing that I saw in this painting was I saw these sticks, right? All these sticks. And I found that distracting because I wasn't really sure what they were. They didn't feel like trees to me, but I see here in the black and white version that they probably are trees, but I felt like that was a little bit distracting. But otherwise, let's just look at compositionally. First off, dead center. We've got a line here, a roof line or something dead center, and I would try to avoid that. That would mean moving this entire composition up to here, and that way it's either dominant that way, or it would meaning this moving the sky down to here, so that you're trying to figure out not putting something dead center here, which is what this feels like. I'd be careful about what you've lined up here. You've got this lined up. It's pretty close to lined up. I guess it's a little off. I would say that, you get a feel for this in the black and white, that it's houses, but I don't know where my eye is supposed to look. I don't know, the brightest bright right in this painting is here. The darkest dark is here. I don't know where you're supposed to look. Do you want me to look at this roof line or this roof line? And then you got a fence in here. It's got some light on it. And I can't really tell where I'm supposed to look. So I'd be careful with that. The values, I think the values are pretty strong in the painting, but I would say the values in the back might need to just be darkened, lightened up a little bit so that they recede. Just doing that helps. And then, get your darker values in the front somewhere, maybe on the fence, so that it reads just a little bit darker. And that will help you maybe under the eaves of this house. So we're going to look at the color version now. Let's see. Let's pull it up. Where did it go? Here we are. I really love the colors on this. I like the feel of it. I love the sky. And I don't know what your reference was. I mean, this feels to me like a nocturne painting. I love, what makes this painting is this sky. What distracts from this painting are these trees. And I'm wondering is if you just got those trees out of there, I don't know that they're adding much to it. And so I would just look for, can I enhance this so that it really stands out? And I would, I like the fact that you've got these bright colors in here. Now you've got a big tree here. That's cool. But I would maybe define that just a little bit more so that, it's very clearly a tree. It just needs to be maybe a little bit more silhouetted or something. I think that would help. And then I would try to, you've got a little light you can play with. I would try to get a little of that light, on the edges of these houses or something, so that it kind of helps differentiate. And you've got the ability to pull in some of that orange. But this dark in here feels a little dark to me. So I'm going to want to just look for a way that I can mute all this back, figure out how to get this. That's too light, but it just feels a little dark. I would look for something to make that a little less dark in here. I'm not finding it, but maybe it's something like this, just a little bit defined. And then you've got this bright spot on here, but it doesn't make sense to me because is there light? Is that light coming from there? And if so, would it be that color, or would it be more along the lines of, one of these colors? Could you play that up a little bit more? The fence is kind of not adding anything to me. I would probably rather see this without the fence, because I don't know that it's, it's creating, to me, it's creating a barrier. It's not letting me come in. Maybe if you open the fence, that would be good. But I think just it needs something, and I'm not sure what it is. There's a little bit of busyness in here, and there's a little bit of busyness in here. And I think if you could just declutter that. But my eye is still like, I don't know what's going on back here. It looks like maybe there's another house, maybe a chimney. And so if you can look for a way that you can define that just a little bit more, maybe just help me understand what's going on here, because just doing something that separates that will help just a little bit. Now, again, this is a nocturne, so nice job on that. Anytime you have a big space that's drawing a lot of attention, you've done a good job on this. You make sure you've got some variety in here. And I would just look for a way to maybe just get a little bit darker on one side of it, so it just creates a little bit of a sense of form, and just a little thing like that here and there. Maybe throw a little window in there, just to help it differentiate. And then these windows feel a little dark to me, so I would just look for a way to do that. Get rid of this clutter over here. Anyway, yeah, I think if you wanted to have a good tree in here, make sure it's a good strong tree that, you've got this tree over here. Make sure that they are not the same size, right? So this tree here would be lower, this tree here would be higher. And then, trees are big silhouettes. So you might be able to, got a silhouette on the roof line, you might be able to get a nice big tree in here. And then maybe something smaller over here. Anyway, good job. Congrats, Susan from Minnesota. Do we have anything more? Oh, we do. This reminds me of the Adirondacks. I don't know where it is, but it looks to me like a boathouse. And this is Stuart from Oklahoma. So this might be a lake in Oklahoma. This looks to me like a boathouse, which is pretty cool. It reminds me of a boathouse in the Adirondacks. So I don't know where to start with this. I think that first off, it's really lovely. Let's see what's happening here. Let's go dead center. And what's happening here is we're a little off center, right, with this horizon line. And we also have a horizon line that's going downhill. And that's because of the angle. What I would say is it's so close to being a regular horizon line that the angle might need to be a little bit more extreme. So maybe we make that angle a little bit more extreme. Or maybe we just do it. Joe McGurl basically said to me one time, he said, if just avoid subtle little angles like that, just keep everything straight. So maybe this is straight. Keep this angle here. That gives you a nice angle in there. So that feels a little bit awkward to me. It feels like I'm falling off the edge of the earth because I'm rolling downhill. If you put a ball on here, it's going to roll down here, and it just throws my eye off a little bit. The question I have is, what are we trying to accomplish here? We have no focal point. This is kind of a focal point. I'd say this is probably the focal point. But what's happening here, Stuart from Oklahoma, is we got a lot going on. So if this is my focal point, then why not make this dock go like that and make this dock go like that? All right. So what's happening is if you look at a perspective line, right, then you would want to draw the eye in there. So what's happening is you're taking this dock over here on the left. So there's a couple of things we can do. One is we can just take it out completely. So what's happening is by not having that there, it strengthens the picture, because now what's happening is it is taking this over here and it's pointing me right to the focal point. So I would do that rather than having two of them, because that would feel a little awkward to me. I think the boat sitting where it is looks really good. I might look for a way to get a little shadow in here somehow, darken this up in here. Where's your darkest dark in this painting? Well, it's pretty dark back in here. It's dark in here. Where do you want people to look? So I would, if you want them to look at the boathouse, get a good strong dark right in here, right around the edge of the boathouse. Get a good strong dark there. Get a good strong light in there, right? Really draw my eye. Don't put that light everywhere, but get a good strong light in there. If the boathouse is in it and it's the boat, then you got to get a good strong light on the boat and mute this back over here. Now, the other thing is we've got a lot of distraction stuff over here. It's drawing the eye away. And so you got all these little white dots, and that's okay, but you just want to make sure that you're not drawing the eye away from where it needs to be. I like this sense of a portal here, like you're taking my eye out of here. I might open that up a little bit and just maybe figure out a way to get the ocean or something back here so that I'm like, wow, that's really cool. Maybe it's not the ocean. If it's in Oklahoma, you don't have an ocean there. Let's look at the color version of this. Now the color really helps it. The color is really, really bright, really wonderful. Now, suddenly though, the focal point doesn't become the house, it becomes the sunset. And you've got a strong color on this boat, and that's drawing the eye quite a bit too. So I don't know exactly where to go with this, but I would probably, if I would probably fake it and move the sunset into here. Why would I do that? Well, because I want most of the attention of this painting to be to have the sunset kind of bringing me into this area over here, because I think what it does is it draws attention to the house. So we get rid of this strong color over here. I would also say in a sunset situation like this, the sky is very rarely blue. The sky is going to turn green. It's going to be muted back. It's going to be less, or it might be yellow, but it's going to be a little less of that bright blue in there. You know, we always were told that skies are blue, and so we tend to do that. I would also look for a way to kind of darken one of the corners in this. So you got light coming back here somewhere. So and then get some sense of maybe just a sense of some light in here. So, you know, you want to draw the eye primarily to this bright spot, and you could even throw in a super bright spot, maybe even a little bit of light right in there. And then I'd pump up the light on this boathouse, which is really lovely. And then I'd take this sailboat that's over here and I'd move it here. And it's okay to have these other things here, but these other pieces on the side, I would just mute them out, right? Because you want all of your attention to be around your focal point. And so that I would do that, and I would also look for a way to take some of this sky color, and we're going to get rid of this dock. We're going to do this, and then, you know, you've got a beautiful light now. And then I think just take some of this yellow color, and instead of using white on the edge of this boat, use a little yellow, because it's going to feel like afternoon light, right? And then maybe this is yellow in here instead of light, and I think that makes it a stronger painting. Good job, Stuart. Congratulations. All right, what else do we have? It's time for composition. Okay, so we're going to look at what's called a balance scale, and we've done this before, but you know, there's only so many compositions. And basically what you want to do is assume that you've got a scale, and there's a scale here, and then you've got, you know, weights equally balanced here. So rather than doing this, right, you're looking for a balanced scale. So a balanced scale could be something like this. So you actually are, you know, you've got your mountain here, and that's kind of your scale, and then you've got your weights here, which are like your trees or whatever. Now, you don't want them to be the same size, because that would be awkward, but you could have a big strong tree mass over here and strong tree mass here, and then, you know, your mountain in the middle. And by the way, it doesn't have to be in the middle. You know, your composition could be where it's off to the side, but the idea is just something that's throwing some balance, and you still can have all your other elements like your road going in and stuff, and various parts of your mountain. But the idea is to have something where you're creating that sense of balance. So another example of that might be this one, which is clouds, right? So you got a big horizon line here. You maybe have your road leading in, but you have a big giant cloud here. Maybe you have another cloud here and another series of clouds here that kind of create that sense of balance. This is kind of, it doesn't have to be perfectly triangular, but this idea, this sense of triangular shape. If you look at Raphael paintings, he does a lot of equal balance. He does a lot of triangulars, and I think you'll find it helpful. Look for a painting and see if you can find a painting with a triangular balance in it. I think it'll help you a lot. Okay, let's see. We've got a couple of things we need to talk about before we go. First off, I'm going painting today. I've got a big giant painting that I have to finish because I've designated for a local museum. And it's got to be done before I leave the Adirondacks for the fall. And I'm going to be here. I'm going to be doing Pastel Live from here. And then I'm going to Fall Color Week. So I got to go back to Texas briefly and then Fall Color Week. So just a reminder, we've got Pastel Live coming up. I talked to you about that earlier, but you want to go to that. It's going to be really terrific. We've already got thousands of people. Go to pastellive.com. And if you want to go to Essential Techniques Day, you can do that first the day before. We have also coming up a couple other things. Number one is Art Business Mastery. If you want to sell some paintings, or you want to have a soaring career, you want to make some money, you want to make a little bit more money, you want to make a lot more money, I'm going to ask you to invest about $47. $47. Now, you get a one-day education. We're going to have Art Business Mastery Day, one day coming up in November, and this will help you plan a little bit in advance. And I'm going to have a bunch of experts on Art Business Mastery Day so that you can learn all kinds of things about using social media, using advertising, legal issues. There's going to be a lot of experts on, and it's only $47 for you to attend. That's an early bird price, and it's going to be normally, I think it's $249. So go ahead and get signed up, and sign up right now so you don't forget, because the most important thing for you, if you want to sell artwork, the most important thing for you is to learn how to sell artwork. And we're going to talk about all these things. It's really important to study it. So that is Art Business Mastery Day. Now, if you want to paint, I love to paint. I was at a dinner party last night, and we were talking about, designing your ideal life. And somebody said to me, you really live in a good life. I said, I really am. I'm really happy with it, but it was by design. I had to make space in my life for the things I wanted to do. It's very important for me to paint, right? I love to paint, and I don't love to paint by myself all the time. I like to once in a while. I want to paint with friends. And so I started creating retreats. This was for my own gratification, but it's also for the gratification of people who come to the retreats and want to do the same thing. So I have a retreat that is designed for winter, because people in the wintertime, they're like, I'm sick of the gray, I'm sick of the ice, I'm sick of the snow, if you live in one of those areas. And so they say, let's go paint. So I put together what's called Winter Escape, winterartescape.com. This year, we're going to be in Hilton Head Island. And we're also going to be painting around Savannah, and they're very close to each other. And we're staying on the ocean in a resort. So it's going to be really terrific. Going to be able to do a lot of painting. A lot of famous painters live around there. We're probably going to have some of them come by and hang out with us, and just have a week of painting. We go painting together every day. We give you a map. We say, this is where we're going today, but you can go off on your own. And then we sit up at night. We do portraits. We sit around and we have drinks, and we have music, and we just we have a good time. And so it tends to be, some people go to all of them. There's a guy named Stephen Burke. He goes to every one I do. But there are a lot of other people who only go to Winter Art Escape. They pick that as their one per year. Some go to the Fall Color Week. Some go to the Adirondacks. So this is going to sell out fast, because last year we had this massive snowstorm. In the same week we hold it, everybody knows that's when it's going to hit. And so why not reward yourself for a week of painting? You make a lot of friends, and everything's included: breakfast, lunch, dinner, hotel, and the event itself. You only have to have your own transportation, and you work it out on we put you together in our website for attendees, our Facebook page, and you guys can share rides and stuff like that too, even get roommates. So sign up now for winterartescape.com. Now that summer's over, we know winter's coming, and it's going to be crazy. So anyway, if you are an artist or you want to be an artist, we have a free video for you. It's a couple hours long. It's our best tips from some of our best artists, and it's on online, immediate streaming, or DVD. You can get it. It's called Incredible Art Secrets. Just go to 97artsecrets.com/ASL for Art School Live. I hope you enjoyed Feedback Friday, and I hope you'll join us Monday, and will join us throughout the week. I'm going to have I'll be here Monday. Then I'm going to have some guest hosts during the week next week. And I'll be back next Friday for Feedback Friday. We got demos from artists all over the world. We believe anybody can learn to paint, and you can learn to paint too. Don't tell yourself that nonsense that you have to have talent or that you don't have what it takes. Everybody's got it. We have found ways to pull it out. You watch 5 shows, any 5 of these shows on our YouTube account or wherever you're seeing us. You watch any 5 of them, you will get the confidence you need to learn to paint. All right. Thanks for being here today. I'm Eric Rhodes. Oh, did I tell you to subscribe? No, I didn't. Do that. Go to YouTube, look up Art School Live, subscribe, and please go into the comments. What was your aha moment? And make sure that you share this so other people can see it, because we think we can help the world learn to paint, and then the world's a better place, right? Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.